Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Kaul. I have been informed that he will be joining, as his piece is really towards the end, so he will be joining a little later.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I have no intentions to come in between the speakers as time is so less in hand, and we have already lost a couple of minutes to initially. So we have such a wonderful panel because we don't want to lose any opportunity to hear them out. So without any delay, I would now like to invite Professor John Kershaw, President of Shastri Indo-Canadian Institute, to present his greetings. Professor Kershaw, please.
Thank you, Dr. Kaul. It is a great pleasure to be here today celebrating International Women's Day with the Shastri Institute. First, I want to thank our special guest, Mr. Gaur, the Deputy High Commissioner of India to Canada, Ms. Strohan, Deputy High Commissioner of Canada to India, and Mr. Shank, Counselor and Head of Advocacy Programs, High Commission of Canada to India. Shastri has always enjoyed a close relationship with both High Commission offices, and we are pleased that you could join us today. I look forward to the conversation between Dr. Lal, Dr. Mansingh, and Ms. Jamal Zadeh. For over 50 years, SICI has supported women and genders issues as we pursued our binational collaboration. Our programs have not only supported women scholars, but their work has affected much change in both countries. SICI's Indian office is powered by a team of women, and they have kept SICI alive and vibrant through the past 2 years of pandemic shutdown and virtual programming. It's been amazing what they've accomplished. And today's program is just another example of what they've done. It has been a pleasure working with them, and they're just indispensable. We don't have to look very far today to see a need for leadership and a need for change. And I'm sure that today's dialogue will be a step in the right direction and a challenge for all of us. Thanks to everyone for attending today. And again, thanks to our guests and our speakers.
Thank you so much, Professor Kershaw, for extending warm greetings to our guest tonight. Thank you. I now invite Shri Anshuman Gaurji, the Deputy High Commissioner of India to Canada, for his remarks. Anshumanji, we are very pleased that you could take out some time this morning to be with us and join us for this panel. Over to you now. Is he still there, or I saw him on the screen?
Yes, yeah, I did see that as well, but it looks like he's re-logging.
Okay, no problem. So maybe we can switch over to our another esteemed guest, that is Ms. Amanda Strohan. She is the Deputy High Commissioner of Canada to India. Amanda, it is so nice to have you here on this panel, and I very warmly invite you to deliver your remarks now. Amanda, please.
Thank you so much. Good evening from Delhi, and good morning to those of you who are in Canada. First, let me say what a privilege it is to be here with you all on International Women's Day to celebrate women achievers and to talk today with this esteemed panel of women who are daring to lead and helping to drive change through art and culture. The High Commission of Canada is extremely proud to be collaborating with SICI to host 3 very distinguished women who've shown exceptional leaderships in their fields to make women's voices heard and to tell their stories. And I am just delighted to welcome Ms. Mojda Jamalzadeh, a Canadian singer and actor of Afghan origin, along with the celebrated dancer, Dr. Sonal Mansingh, and the eminent professor and writer, Dr. Malashilal. Truly an honor to have you with us and to be here tonight. Canada is fully committed to promoting the empowerment of women and girls and equal participation of women in society. Because Canada feels strongly that gender equality is not only a human rights issue, although it certainly is, but it's also an essential component of sustainable development, social justice, peace, and security. Providing equal opportunities for women and girls will help to build stronger organizations, stronger communities, and stronger economies. As decision makers and agents of change, women and girls can drive economic growth, they can encourage greater peace, improve the quality of life for their families, and enrich their communities. Work that is done by artists and writers like our panelists today is critical to make women's voices heard. Investing in women and girls is not just the right thing to do or the nice thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. Because research has shown that organizations with women in key leadership positions perform better than those without. That's why advancing gender equality is at the heart of Canada's Feminist International Assistance Policy. We integrate objectives to empower women in all of our development policies and programs, and we implement specific projects to achieve these goals. For example, through Canada's ELSI initiative for women in peace operations, we're working with partners across the UN system and member states, think tanks, and civil society to increase the meaningful participation of women in peace operations. Canada was one of the first countries to sign and ratify the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, which set international standards for eliminating gender discrimination. At the local level here in India, the High Commission of Canada partners with government and civil society organizations to work towards this goal. Our Canada Fund for Local Initiatives has largely focused on empowering women socially and economically in many different states across India. During my years in India, every day I've come across stories of strong women who are doing amazing work to create a more equal world for everyone. And so tonight, I'm looking forward to hearing the inspirational stories of our distinguished panel members and learning about the work that they're doing in the spheres of art and culture. So thank you again for the opportunity to be here, and I wish everyone a very happy International Women's Day.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you so much for highlighting the interventions in place to support the women leadership and assist women in all walks of life through Government of Canada policies. I really appreciate your sharing these remarks. I now invite Mr. Anshuman Gaur, the Deputy High Commissioner of India to Canada, to offer his remarks on this panel. Thank you, Mr. Gaur, for being here with us today. Over to you now.
Dr. Kaul, it seems his audio is not connected.
Oh, okay.
And so his video, because he seems to be present in the list, but yeah, I think he's trying to log in from some other account.
Okay, so we will have him whenever possible, whenever he can, join us appropriately. We will switch over to him.
Yeah, he's here, Dr. Kaul, sorry.
Okay.
Good evening, Dr. Gaur.
Hello, Anshuman.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very good, namaskar.
I'm so sorry, Namaskar, I had some technical problems, I was unable to get the audio going, but it's absolute delight to join you. Thank you, Dr. Kaul, and thank you, my fellow panelists, for this wonderful opportunity to join you on this very special day. I join you from a still cold and snowy Canada, which has made women's empowerment a central political plank, and it is most visible perhaps in their federal cabinet, which has 50% women ministers. As India and Canada are natural partners, as my colleague from the Canadian High Commission mentioned, as countries which are democracies and are multicultural and have a shared ethos of believe in rule of law and a strong individual rights-based approach to equality, there's hardly any endeavor of human nature that we are not partners in. And higher education has been a field which has been particularly important for us, and SICI has done some important work there in fostering the university-to-university, institution-to-institution collaboration. Now have more than 230,000 Indian students in Canada, and a fair percentage of them are women, increasingly growing numbers here. So we look forward to this discussion today, and we have some very eminent people on the panel. I look forward to hearing them. Just briefly, touching upon what India's approach has been to empowering women to leadership role. Our constitution provides not only for equality, but equity in manifestation of gender rights in India. Our courts have over the years been more progressive and have expanded the envelope for women, enabling not only their fuller participation, but also their rise to leadership role. There are several special laws which Indian Parliament has enacted, which again are detailed at empowering and enabling women's participation. Most recently, under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi, we have had the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign, which is more than just a mission at policy level intervention. It's actually something which is meant to change the whole perception around women's place in Indian society. It has manifested itself in our education policy with the leave no one behind approach, and especially in the higher education, where we have the what we call the Rashtriya Uchtar Shiksha Abhiyan, or the National Higher Education Policy, which is detailed at equipping women with the tools and the capacities to rise to leadership and management roles. In India, we enacted the Companies Act in 2013, which makes it mandatory for women to be represented on boards of companies registered in India. Well, we have very interesting figures coming up since then. And just recently, I was looking at a Grant Thornton report, and it says that the percentage of women in senior management in India is now at 39%, which is higher than the global average of 31%. Also, the percentage of women leaders across the C-suite companies, as we call them, is now 47%. This is higher than 26% average globally. And women now hold 17.1% of board seats in India, up from about 9% in 2014. Well, across the world, women are assuming more power roles, more leadership roles, and not for a moment to say that men don't dominate decision making. But it's clear that the number of women in parliaments, in cabinets, in judiciary, in police forces, in higher academics is on the rise. And while this is a welcome change, but we are far from reaching true parity in any sense. And every voice that can be added to championing that, to advocating that, is a voice in the right direction. I don't want to go into details of what challenges women face when they are vying for top managerial position and leadership roles. This panel is perhaps much more qualified and experienced to say that. I would just say that there are obvious compulsions. The first is the ethical compulsion. If women are part of the workforce, if women are part of the societal makeup, then there is no reason why they should not be denied, or why they should be denied the rise to leadership roles. So that's a very strong ethical argument for us. Also, there are economic benefits. Any organization which is open to women in leadership role has a larger talent pool to choose from, and then having women in leadership role brings its own benefits. I mean, you have a whole transformation of how power structures are shaped by having the feminist element. You are more empathetic, you are more sensitive to the population out there. So your organizational efficiencies increase. There needs to be a strong commitment from organizations across the board, governments, companies, political parties, to accept more women in leadership role. They have to replace outgoing men by accepting more women in leadership role. They have to create the environment, the structures by which women can access those leadership roles. And I mean, I've always been a champion, and Prachiji and I have talked about it. The need for women to take up more STEM courses, to have higher involvement in managerial position, in training positions, to enable them to rise to the challenges. There are some larger issues also. The nature of power as it is used in the position of leadership and management may need to be considered differently as we allow for more feminine leadership which in itself needs a clearer definition and perhaps a rearrangement in terms of what leadership actually means for women and what women in leadership would mean. The narratives and the attitudes have to change. And again, I'll leave the elaboration of those narratives to my more esteemed colleagues. I just have one piece of advocacy or advice which I picked up from my mother, who was an educator, a professor, and went on to become a head of department in her university. And that's something which I learned from watching her. Women must have the right to make mistakes and not be penalized any more than a male counterpart would be. It's only by making mistakes that we learn. And I think women should have the headroom for making the mistakes and then picking themselves up and moving on ahead. I think Natalie Portman said it well, and I'll quote her. The most powerful example we can set for the next generation would be for us to do the most human of things, make mistakes, and then not to follow the narrative of the doomed woman or the fallen woman or the destroyed woman, but to go out post-mistake and succeed wildly. And I think that is something all organizations must gear themselves for as we accept more women in leadership role, and something which women themselves must have an attitudinal change. Right to goof off is as important for women, and I think perhaps a marker of equality as it is for men. So I'll close there. Thank you again for this opportunity, Prachiji, for talking to you, and sorry that I got stuck with the technical issues.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing the very positive statistics about the growth of women in India in terms of their participation in workforce and reaching out to the leadership position, to sharing your own experiences and learnings through your mother and the fraternity you belong to. I really, really appreciate your taking out time to be with us, Mr. Gaur. Thank you so much. Well, I think it is time for me to introduce three very special speakers on board with us, to begin with Professor Malashilal. She retired as a professor of English department, from the Department of English, and a former dean and director of Women's Studies Center in the University of Delhi. She has a specialization in literature, women and gender studies, and everyone in India and abroad knows the kind of contribution she has done to the literature domain. She has 16 books to her credit, including the influential work on mythology, In Search of Sita, Tagore and the Feminine, and The Finding Radha. As a recipient of international fellowships, she has conducted research at University of British Columbia, York University, University of Toronto in Canada. Along with that, she was also associated and remain associated with Harvard University, Cambridge University, and so many more universities worldwide. Dr. Lal is currently core committee member of Center for India-Canada Studies, University of Delhi, and a member English Advisory Board of Sahitya Academy. She assists women empowerment initiatives at the Guild of Services in New Delhi, especially overseeing educational programs in Rajasthan. I'm so very pleased to share that she is a Shastri Fellow and a very long time associate of ours. I extend my thanks to you, Professor Lal, for being here with us today. Our second special guest is Mazda Zamalzada, an Afghan-Canadian singer and women rights activist. Many have tried to silence her, but she remains the most powerful female voice of her generation in Afghanistan, boldly speaking about women's rights, and Voice of Rebellion charts her incredible journey, including arriving in Canada as a child refugee, setting her father's protest poem to music and making it #1 hit, and performing that song for Michelle and Barack Obama, and finally being invited to host her own show in Afghanistan. The Mazda show has earned her the nickname, the Opera of Afghanistan, and tackled taboo subjects like divorce and domestic violence for the very first time in the country's history. But even as her words resonate with women and families, Mazda received quite an angry death threats. Some of them were really, really serious, and she was eventually advised to return to Canada. We are indeed pleased to have you here, Mazda. You are such a bold and daring woman who very appropriately attached to the theme of today's event, driving to change and daring to lead. A very warm welcome to you here for this panel. Our third speaker is none other than Dr. Sonal Mansingh, who needs no introductions for sure. Member of Parliament, Padma Vibhushan awardee, guru of classical dance, social activist, a visionary, and a motivator. Dr. Mansingh was nominated by the President of India to the Rajya Sabha, and that is upper house of Indian Parliament in July 2018, in recognition of her lifelong dedication and service to India's art. She is the recipient of Padma Vibhushan in 2003 from Presidents of India, Shri APJ Abdul Kalam, and Padma Vibhushan in 1992 from Shri R. Venkatraman. Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji, nominated her as a Navratan for Swachh Bharat Mission, which is Clean India Mission. Her unique contribution has been her lifelong work using her knowledge to address socio-cultural issues through the medium she chose, that is dance, as an art educator, cultural activist, and a social motivator. As a founder president of Sahit Shri Kamakhya Kalapeeth Center for Indian Classical Dance, she has trained several thousand talented students who are carrying the message of Indian culture globally. She teaches the art as holistic concept, combining it with music, yoga, Sanskrit, and cultural traditions of India. Dr. Mansingh, I can't tell you how excited we all are to have this opportunity to hear your views and experiences. Thank you so much for being with us, and very warm welcome once again. The conceiving of this event and the panel was very quick, with Mazda appearing as the first speaker. And it was very natural for me to look for a personality that brings a similar daring character from the domain of art and culture from the Indian end. And so the name of Sonalji appeared. When these two personalities were in place, I could only think of Dr. Lal, who I thought would be an able and apt navigator to set the conversation with these two great personalities. So we got our third speaker in form of Malaji. Very warm welcome, all of you, to the three speakers that we have tonight with us. Well, it is time, and I think I should hand over the session to start the conversation, which we all are looking forward to. We all are waiting to understand the perspectives and narratives from these three women leaders. I now hand over the session to your hands, Malaji. Please take it over from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi, and greetings to everyone on International Women's Day. It's been a great pleasure to listen to the introductory comments. And indeed, Canada and India shares a very strong vision for women's empowerment in many, many ways. And I'm so glad that the evening is looking at art, culture, and literature as very powerful tools through which leadership is imparted to social development. And that I have two wonderful speakers on the panel. And I'm going to start right away by addressing my first question to Mazda. It's been a long and difficult journey, Mazda, and I have read very fascinatedly your book, which is the authorized autobiography, which is called Voice of Rebellion. And as Prachi just summarized, it's been a difficult rebellion too, but you have come right on top by becoming a very well-known singer and activist and using that medium to spread the idea of women's empowerment. So in Canada, which is now your home, your identity as a singer and an activist is very well established. And you're using that position to make women all over the world look at means of coming out of difficult situations. So when you speak about women's issues and leadership, how do you understand your own experiences, and also how do you define leadership for women's issues?
Well, first of all, I would like to send out my regards and thanks for allowing me to be a part of this panel. And what a great honor to be here with you, Dr. Lal and Dr. Mansingh, and everyone else. Hello, and I'd like to say Happy Women's Day to all of you and everybody, all of the women around the world. Your question, it's a very good question. And I think growing up in Canada came with so many privileges, opportunities, and advantages that I never took for granted. I had a chance to think freely, speak my mind, and be who I am without fear of being persecuted or punished for it. I knew what I had growing up here because being from both worlds gave me a wider perspective. My father is a feminist, so growing up under his influence in that environment, having a mother who is one of the strongest women that I know, this all had a lot to do with my upbringing and the strength that I came to possess over time. And I think that it was very important that I gave back to women who and girls who possibly do not normally have those opportunities or get the chance to be, to grow up in that kind of environment. So I thought that, I wanted to dedicate my life into empowering other women and girls in the world, because there are so many of us. I always think about, things could have been completely different for me if I had grown up in Afghanistan under the rule of the Taliban the first time and then possibly the second time. And it angers me and it saddens me that so many women and girls around the world are still struggling. And my father, being a feminist, he strongly believes that in this day and age, women's rights issues should not even be, or women's, there should be no such thing as women's issues in the 21st century. So I'm doing everything I can with the opportunities that have been given to me by the advantages and opportunities given to me being raised here in Canada to give back. And that's how I started music. And I started my own talk show because I wanted to use my platform, not necessarily because of my love for music, but because media is the most powerful tool that you can use. And I just wanted to use my platform to empower other women as well.
Thank you very much, Mosta. May I turn to Dr. Sonal Mansingh now? Again, a fascinating biography and a life of struggle of great accomplishment. And the book is called A Life Like No Other. And indeed, there isn't another Dr. Sonal Mansingh. I've known you for a very long time. Your life has been about dance and choreography, research, writing, travels, celebrity status. But let me go a little beyond that and say that now that you are in the Rajya Sabha and you have been a leader of women for a very long time in the cultural field, leading from the front, from the Rajya Sabha at present, what, according to you, are the driving attributes of such leadership? And leadership is not only for women. I think leadership is for women and men. What would you say?
First of all, namaste and greetings to all. Great pleasure to be here with my old friend Rumu, Dr. Malashilal. We have shared so many conversations and platforms. And thank you, Shastri Canadian Indo-Canadian Institute, for inviting me. Rumu, Mala, please allow me to diverge a little bit for 5 seconds to establish my connection with Canada, that for a long time I was in and out of Montreal, one of my most favorite cities in the world. And my second marriage indeed was celebrated in Montreal. I was very happy to to give master classes at the McGill. And I think I would not lose any opportunity to run back to Canada, especially Montreal. Okay. Being in the upper house of parliament in India as an artist, as a nominated parliamentarian nominated by the President of India. And I think unlike many countries in the world, including, I believe, I don't know about Canada, but certainly not the US of A, they have this kind of arrangement. Here, the 12 seats in the upper house are reserved for non-politicos from various fields, from education, culture, science, sports, etc. And I'm very proud to be successor to Pandit Ravi Shankar, the world famed sitar musician. It's almost after 30 years that there has been, and I'm the very first dancer ever to sit in this august seat. Now that has given me the opportunity to directly converse and discuss with a lot of my fellow members, who I think at least 90% of them who have seen me perform at various stages of their life. Some from the school days, some from the university days. And that has made it easier. So first of all, Mala, I think the art cuts across all ages and at all levels. That whether they are scientists or politicians or whoever, social activists, IT researchers, if they have come across an artist, they've seen an art performance or heard some lovely music, it leaves an impression. And later they can revert back to it. And that has helped me a lot in projecting my views in the parliament. Last year, I remember the parliament was on, the session was on 8th March, not this year, but last year. And I remember I was given opportunity to speak in the 0 hour, and I took full advantage of it. And I talked about the man-woman partnership, and I tend to agree with the father of my lovely panelist colleague. She said that her father believes that there should be no even issue of women's leadership. And I totally agree there. Because what I said in the parliament was that I wait for the day when we will celebrate International Men's Day also. Because it sounds like a hand-me-down, a condescension of kinds that the world celebrates one day out of 365 days as International Women's Day, when the woman has to be feted and cherished and nourished and respected and loved and all that. So first of all, I have a problem there that what a woman does, what I have done, has come as a natural corollary to my being a woman. That I danced, I spoke my mind through my dances, I spoke my mind, my convictions, not only through my dances, but through my talks, through my writing, through my conversations, dialogues, etc. And they have been accepted without any hesitation, perhaps also because my life, now that I look back, has been an example of that. My grandfather, my paternal grandfather, was governor 4 times of different states in India. And I ran away from that paternal home to pursue my dance. Soon after I finished my BA with German literature honors. And that was way back in 1963. Just imagine India of those years. And I ran away. I just bought my train ticket and I ran to Bangalore. At that time, it was very, very far. Now you can just fly a Zoom from Delhi to Bangalore. And I never went back to my parental home to live there. And I faced hardships. I faced social stigmas when I left my first husband, was a senior diplomat. And also dance as a beautiful art, but dance in those years in society, in North India especially, not so in South India or Bengal from where Mala comes, or from West India, but North India, having succumbed to so many attacks from outside, which really destroyed the value systems and the traditions. In Delhi, I mean, I was called Nachne Wali, you know, the Nach girl, and go out and dance on the roads. All kinds of things. I've heard that with my own ears. So she's a rebel. I'm not a rebel, but I am a rebel in the sense that I decided to fight in my own way by pursuing my goal, by pursuing the thing, my passion, the flame which was burning within me. And because I believed in the power of what I was doing, the messages that our art traditions, our art stories are giving, the messages about environment, about women's issues, about history, about geography, about, what shall I say, all kinds of things. River pollution, for example. And I delighted in turning the dance as not only art, but as an instrument of social change and social awakening. And when I say I firmly believe that we are all instruments of some higher power. We are used, we are the mediums. Through us, things are happening. And that kind of, I won't say humility, but that kind of a feeling is very, very important to me. Because the minute I say, I did it, something is lost. That delicate balance between ego, personal ego, and the grand ego of the art tradition, that balance is somewhere, it goes askew. So like that, okay, Mala, I don't want to go on.
Thank you. That's very well put, Sodal. I'm going to ask Mosta a precise question about the power of music. Because for you, that has been the tool for taking the idea of transformation, of change, and the Mazda show has been immensely successful. So would you be willing to give us an illustration of the way you sing and convey the message for women's equality?
Well, I think that media in general has played a huge role in empowering women, especially in Afghanistan. As many of us have already seen in the media, for example, these women are now educated and they're aware and they know what's going on around the world and they want to live like everybody else. And they're not the same women that were present during the first time the Taliban ruled Afghanistan. This is a whole new generation of women who are willing to stand up for themselves. And a lot of that has to do with the role that the media played in Afghanistan. So media is a very powerful tool, and that is why I again, this is the words of my father as we were sitting at the dinner table, just having a conversation when I was a teenager. And I said, I want to make a difference. And I was this introverted, shy, awkward girl who just, who would run into my room any chance I got and just read my books. And I was socially awkward. I had no friends. And I remember at that dinner table, my dad said, well, if you want to make a change, the media is the most powerful tool to make a change. And so I think that my show was definitely a part of that change in Afghanistan, because at the time that I was invited to One TV to host a show called Afghanistan's Got Talent, and that's they had just gotten the licensing for that. And I was excited to just go back home, to be able to finally go back to Afghanistan without any fear. And when I arrived, my mother, she surprised everyone, including myself, and presented this idea of, what about an Oprah show style concept? And she said, my daughter is here away from her family, her friends, and her cat and her life there in Canada. And if she's going to be here, I wanted to be worthwhile and for everybody. And so how about, instead of an entertainment show, more of an infotainment show? So, you know, mixed with educational content. And that's when she took out the Oprah DVDs and showed it to the producers who had never heard of Oprah. And of course, we had a couple of British, you know, our CEO was American, and we had a couple of British people in our group, and they definitely went for it. They completely put aside Afghanistan's Got Talent and went with this concept. And I'm so glad that they did. And I want to thank One TV and the media in Afghanistan for allowing shows like mine, because at that time, allowing me to openly discuss taboo subjects when it was completely unheard of. It was very difficult for the TV to be able to do this, and it was very difficult for me. We had a lot of threats, but I could say that, you know, we were very successful in what we did. And I heard from many, many women who approached me who said, please don't stop doing what you're doing, because my husband has stopped beating our children, and, you know, our family life is a lot better now. A woman even gave herself as an example and said that she was an example of child marriage, and that her life was, I mean, she lived a very, very difficult life growing up. And so she shared that with us. And there were a lot of moments where, you know, women were just speaking up on my show, or coming and telling me that my show had changed something within their family in a very positive way. So the media is a powerful tool. My father was right, and I will continue to try to use the media as much as I can. And, you know, given opportunities like this, to be speaking alongside you and Dr. Mensing, and of course the things that she said, I completely agree with, and she's definitely a rebel in her own right, because it's very inspiring to hear her story as well. So
yeah, thank you, Mosda, for that insight into how the show began and how it was appreciated. Sonalji, I'm going to ask you a question about your use of Indian mythology, because you have been rewriting those stories, those narratives, particularly of women, in a completely innovative way, and choreographing them with tremendous impact and advantage. And you spoke just a little earlier about how environmental issues also can be brought to the notice of the audience through using the tools and the stories that we've grown up with, and by reorienting those stories. And you've been very kind to contribute to our book on Sita and performed Radha when the book was launched. So I'm aware of those very, very effective ways in which you have used Indian mythology by retelling it. So would you like to say a little more on that, and how a certain kind of leadership comes out of understanding our past in modern ways?
Yeah, okay. I would just like to correct, in the sense, offer my word instead of mythology, because myth is something like a fairy tale, whereas we call it Puran, things that happened in time long past, but they did happen. So there's a difference, and that's why I suppose they speak loudly to people even today, after so many decades and millennia. Thank you for bringing in Radha and Sita and Draupadi, all these wonderful women. First of all, let me come to Draupadi from the epic Mahabharata. Again, both the epics are history, and seen with the perspective of history retold, things that happened. Draupadi's character is akin to, she's a symbol of Prakriti, nature. And I think nature in most ancient civilizations, most of them, was considered feminine. Prakriti, nature. And it was an unwritten concept that when you insult a woman, you are insulting Prakriti. And when you play with Prakriti, you bring down the civilization. And what we are going to witness, I hope, not really so bad, but the environmental, the ecological imbalances that are happening. Draupadi is that simple. In fact, her very name means nature, Prakriti, lush nature. And we know the story of Mahabharata, but those like Jamdev or others don't know that she was insulted in the full court of royal dynasty of the Kuru Vansha, the Kurus. Insulted in a way that would really make us shiver. And the cataclysmic results, what happened thereafter, the great war of Kurukshetra for 18 days, within which, at the beginning of which, the Bhagavad Gita, which is now world famous and translated in almost, I don't know how many languages of the world, Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Sri Krishna. But that war happened because the woman was insulted. There are so many symbols like that. For example, Sita, the daughter of earth. We are all daughters of earth. We are all born of earth. Women are born of earth, but the men are born of women. This is something that I love to repeat. That be it a prophet, be it Rama, be it Krishna, be it Buddha, be it Christ, anyone. Every man is born from a woman. So women are the children, the daughters of earth. Men are children of women. Right, Mala? Am I right?
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that's a huge concept that we need to carry within ourselves at all times. So Sita, she is a royal princess and married to Rama, the hero of Ramayana. And when the thing happens that Ram is told to shove off the royal crown and go off into the forest for 14 years, she, the wife, insists that she will go with him. And he just tries in every which way to dissuade her. In the end, you know what she says? Had my father known that you were really a woman in the body of a man, he would never have allowed me to marry you. I mean, this is unheard of. That too about the great hero, Ram. Now, Sita could say that. And Sita could make everyone feel that she was right and that she was the better half of Ram. And here, Mala, I would like to just deviate a little bit and quote to you and all of you a Sanskrit verse, which was the operating principle in marriages, in Hindu marriages, let's say. So, karyeshu mantri, karneshu dasi, meaning that at work, she should be like the secretary. At home, she should be like the housemaid. At meal times, she should feed the husband as affectionately as a mother would. And of course, in bed, she should be like the heavenly nymph. And she should follow the traditions and rituals of the family in which she married. And she should be so supportive and all absorbing like the Dharitri, meaning the earth. And but does such a woman exist with all the 6 qualities? And so I wrote out, and I recited this in the parliament again last year. I said, is there a man, is there a husband who would be like a secretary to the wife, who would work in the house, doing things that woman is supposed to do, and would be like a brother feeding the sister at meal times, and would be like Krishna, the great lover in bed? and he would follow her rituals and her traditions and her beliefs, and who would be as forgiving, not forgiving, but as generous as Vyoma, heaven, the space, ether. Does such a man exist with all such 6 qualities? And of course, the men were all looking down, and I looked around very purposefully. And so what I say is that symbolism, as you rightly said, Mala, symbolisms are very, very important. Rather than go crack at things, that is one way. The art that I follow, the art traditions, they believe more in symbolism, because I think both have their own purpose and both have their own goal. When I danced Draupadi for the audience, wherever I've danced that, whether in Sydney, whether in Perth Festival, whether in London, whether in India, in so many places, people who may not have known about the epic or may not have, the tears rolling down. Something happens. So it is the story of the eternal feminine. I believe in the principle of the eternal feminine who really upholds the creation.
Thank you. That sounds wonderful. The eternal feminine. We'll certainly carry that phrase with us. So I'll turn to Mazda now for the last question. And it's a very pointed one. From your home in Canada to the listeners in India, the other listeners too, what is your message on International Women's Day today?
I am beyond inspired by Dr. Mansi. She's incredible. I would like to, my message would be, I would like to tell mostly young women to stand up for yourselves, to not be afraid of not fitting in, but rather stand out. Stand up and stay strong. Do not allow a patriarchal society to dictate your life. I can't stress that enough.
That's a very beautiful message, very powerful indeed. Thank you, Mazda. Thank you, Sonalji. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening to both of you, and your views, your thoughts, your words, I shall certainly carry away with me, and I'm sure the audience will also remember you very beautifully for all.
Don't you want my message, Mala? Don't you want my message?
I was taking away the eternal feminine as your message, but please go ahead.
Yes, no, I just want to ditto what Mosa said, ditto. And only one little phrase I add, that I think women should bond together stronger.
Indeed.
Absolutely.
The right time to end the conversation as we bond together. Over to you, Dr. Prachi Kaur.
Thank you so very much, Malaji, for setting this up. It is, I'm beyond my expressions to narrate my experience of hearing such a magnificent conversation between these two women leaders, said by Professor Malashilal, who never dared to speak their mind and act accordingly with such grace and composure. I'm sure the audience is also mesmerized and fully absorbed hearing the narratives that we get to hear today. Thank you so very much for sharing your experiences, Dr. Mansi and Mazda. It was indeed a delight and a learning for all of us here, joining you from India, Canada, and probably from the other places as well. I'm sure we all would like this conversation to continue and go on, but everything that begins will have to reach to a conclusion. And we have also reached to the stage at the time when it's time to wind up the session. So I humbly invite Mr. Colin Shaw, Counselor and Head Advocacy Program, High Commission of Canada to India, to extend his words of appreciation and thank you remarks to everyone. Colin, please.
Thank you very much, Dr. I just had a little bit of issues and was only able to join a little bit late. Very engaged and intrigued by the comments of our panelists and moderators. Thank you so much. I'm here our High Commission with our friend behind me, one of our friendly mascots. So sorry about the backdrop. Thank you to the Shastri Institute. Sorry, I might have got disconnected there. Apologies. Just a big thank you again to everybody who was able to join us tonight, and especially to our panelists, Moshe and Dr. Lal, for your insights and your just deep, profound insights about the importance of today's event. The High Commission will continue to support these types of discussions. They're always going to be ongoing and always going to be a need for them, and we're happy always and really honored to provide a space for them in as much as we can. And we just want to always be able to continue the conversation. So thanks to panelists, thanks to the Institute for partnering with us for this, and thanks to everyone who was able to join in with your questions and your engagement as well. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Colin, for your remarks. We all face such difficulties at some point of time during this, online meeting. So very well understand. We hope to connect very soon once again and do some similar events together. So thank you for reaching out to us, and it's wonderful to have you as well on this panel tonight. With this, I think we are to wind up because, and I'm very proud to say that we have not gone much beyond. It's just 9:03 right now. And with this, I would like to wind up and thanks everyone for being part of this session. I would say we have wonderful participation from not just from India and Canada. Canada has 5 time zones, and we have participants joining us from all corners. So it just speaks for the strength of the panel that we have presented tonight. I think it's wonderful to hear everyone and take back the message and the wonderful thoughts that Dr. Mansingh and Mazda has shared with us. Thank you once again, Malaji, for convening this session and navigating it so wonderfully and gracefully. I really appreciate. I also want to add my thanks to my colleagues and the colleagues at High Commission for putting this together so effectively and efficiently. It was a great show. Thank you once again, everyone. Have a good night and have a great day ahead. Namaskar.
Thank you all.
Thank you.